Hello, I am the gaming superhero, and today I am making a kit for the smallest leaguer, the Atom. More specifically, the Ray Palmer version. Although, out of all the characters I have needed to decide on a specific iteration of, this was the easiest because there really is no meaningful difference between any of them. So I just picked the most well-known version, not the oldest and not the newest, but just right. It is also the first notable hero shooter character that utilizes shrinking in their kit, which was tricky given he really only shrinks. There aren't a large number of gadgets he uses, at least none that are listed on the wiki. Plus, he really only shrinks himself with only special occasions of shrinking other characters. He's not like Ant-Man where he can just shrink and grow things on the fly. He's very much just sort of a shrink himself and figure it out that kind of guy. But we can get into that when we get to the kit. First, we have shoutouts. We have Charlie Chicken X on Discord. On YouTube, we have Ziyong himself, Juliac1508, Mutovin1355, and Guang Guang himself. Very good job, everybody. Kind of surprised because the Atom doesn't have a very distinct silhouette, so I am a little shocked so many people got it, but whatever. Not all that surprising, I guess. The Atom, aka Ray Palmer, first appeared in Showcase number 34 from 1961. We open in a nuclear lab in Ivy University. Not in Ivy League University, just Ivy University. Graduate student Ray Palmer is conducting an experiment to shrink objects, but can't seem to do it without the objects exploding. We then harshly cut to him discovering a meteorite that is a piece of a white dwarf star. How something primarily made of gas crashes to Earth as a rock, I do not know. This bit of rock still isn't working though. But Ray's love interest, Jean, the lady lawyer, appears. Ray proposes to her, but she refuses, desiring to prove she can be a successful lawyer first. They then take some kids on a hike. Ray is still worried about his experiments, though, given Jean is so smart and won't love him if he doesn't revolutionize science soon. They detour in a cave, and we get a lesson on stalagmites and stalactites when the cave caves in. Ray goes to find an exit, while the others distract themselves. He finds a small hole through which light is entering, so he decides to say screw it and shrink himself to go through the hole and use his diamond ring to make the hole bigger, so normal-sized people can fit. Very heroic, all things considered, given he still believes she will explode from this. But he doesn't, because some water with special chemicals gets on the lens, and so when he goes under a second time, he is returned to his normal size. Everyone escapes the cave, and Ray goes back to his lab to discover that his body alone is capable of shrinking through these convoluted messes of space rock and minerals. That is the end of the Atom's origin. A pretty good one, all things considered. Not exactly surprising. I haven't heard this one before. Kinda meanders and functions solely on coincidence more than anything. More so than other origins even. Usually those have one coincidence to trigger the superpowers, such as Spider-Man gets bitten by the spider, Batman's parents just so happen to get shot. This one has the rock falling from the sky, the cave in the mineral just so happens to fix the exploding issue. We have the cave in itself. There's just nothing but coincidences throughout the whole thing. But let's just move on to the kit. I made the Mighty Might a support because that is what a role he usually plays in a lot of the big team up stuff I've seen him in. I don't like making general statements like that on characters. I don't follow it all because I have been burned before by making assumptions like that. But it just feels the most fitting regardless. And I hate the mindset people have where putting characters in anything other than the duelist role means you think they are weak power-wise. Having certain characters not be in the duelist role just means those characters aren't powerhouses. I don't know. I don't get the logic. Some characters are strong and make sense to support other characters at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. The primary is Atom Blaster, another science character that I have given a gun. Another thing I have gotten flack for, but this one I feel, where it works because he does have a lot of gadgets occasionally. It works like you think it does, shoots to damage enemies, and heals allies, depending on who you hit. I have also given him a movement ability, shrink to the size of an atom, gaining an increased jump. Becoming immune to damage while small, but also being unable to shoot or use other abilities, similar to Scarlet Witch movement. That does it for the base kit, but don't worry, there will be more shrinking in the abilities. Ability 1, Tag Along. Shrink and attach to an ally, giving them bonus health, increased damage output, and healing over time. Adam can still shoot to damage enemies and heal other allies, but nothing else. Functioning very similarly to like the Rocket and Groot team up, except Adam cannot be targeted individually of the person he is riding. If the person he is riding dies, he disconnects, so people would need to kill him separately. So he can jump to his last ally to save himself for a few seconds before they also die, but still. Ability 2 is Miniature Sabotage. Shrink again and jump forward, attaching to an enemy for a second, disabling a random ability for a few seconds. It won't disable passives, but it can disable ultimates if it is available, but won't reset the charge. That would be insane. It also won't disable any primary or secondary fire. Any ability that is activated by a button input is up for disabling, if they are hit by this ability. It is random, so you can't really prepare for it, but really happen to disable a really big damaging ability or a movement one, to not let them escape. That would be the ideal scenario. It could be good to have the amount of time an ability is disabled be different depending on the type of ability. Like certain abilities might just be disabled for more or less time depending on what it does. But that might overcomplicate it a bit. The ultimate is Expanding the Atom. Throw a large projectile that explodes, healing allies and giving them a massive amount of bonus health, and reducing enemy damage output. Think Lucio ult, except it is thrown instead of dropped. I considered it doing damage to enemies, and maybe it can, but it would be very small, not the type of damage you would expect from an ultimate. But it is a support ult, so that makes sense. I thought reducing the damage of enemies hit was a nice compromise on that front, making this a big stat ball that can be thrown into a team fight to turn the tides, because yes, they need to be within the splash radius of the explosion to gain its effects. So you can miss the support ult, be very careful. That is how I would add the Miniature Might to a DC Rivals, if they were to make one. This was very difficult because apparently Adam really only changes his own size and doesn't shrink or grow others, not as often as Ant-Man anyway. Add to that the fact that the wiki didn't have a whole lot of gadgets he regularly uses. There is only so much you can do with a character that shrinks himself. Luckily, my editor came up with the idea of the whole attaching to allies to give them buffs thing. Apparently it was a thing from League of Legends. I know, sounds so sad, but this then leads to the idea of jumping onto an enemy to hinder them. The movement ability is my idea, though. Coming up with him shrinking and jumping around isn't exactly a crazy idea, admittedly, to come up with. The main thing I had to decide was whether or not to have him fly while shrunk. I ultimately decided not to because I thought having him be tiny and jump around was more unique and interesting, instead of just making it a Scarlet Witch phase of a different color. I am ultimately happy with this kit. I enjoyed figuring out how to make it work. Let me know if you think I did. Not much more for me to say. I'm not very knowledgeable on the Atom. I just know he is a scientist that shrinks. I'm not sure there is more to him. There would have to be to, stay this relevant for so long, but let me know what you think of the character and kit. Did you enjoy it? What other characters would you like to see me make a kit for? We have 17 characters left in the DC Rivals launch roster, so we are basically halfway there. Given it is an odd number, this is the closest to half we are going to get. Like, subscribe, join the Discord. We got game nights, early teases, all kinds of fun stuff. I don't know. I recently announced that I got longer, more videos coming out. Like, for instance, 10 characters I think deserve animated series. That's a video that's coming out very soon. And I also announced with it the potential Why I Hate Batman video. A big long video on why I hate Batman. And I have decided to make it a subscription goal, because you guys wanted the animated shows video first, so now that Why I Hate Batman is going to be a sub goal. That is a video that I will make when we get to 500 subscribers. So once we reach that goal, that is when you will earn the Why I Hate Batman video. You will find out why I hate The Dark Knight, if we get to 500 subscribers. So subscribe if you want to know, if you want to see that. Either because you hate Batman or you just really want to know why I specifically hate Batman. Your reasons don't matter to me. As long as you subscribe, do it. But with that, you're welcome for true Short King representation.